Hello, my name is Yahya Kaiton. I'm a freshman that attends the University of Minnesota. In today's podcast, I'll be answering my research question. Does failure in the life of a student have value? Now you may be wondering how failure could possibly benefit someone in an academic setting. And that's a really good question. Because at a very young age, we have been taught in schools that we should always aim for the highest grades. That's reasonable because our teachers want the best out of us and they also want us to be successful in life. They also taught us that we should be smart and strive to help better ourselves and the schools that we attend. But since there was so much pressure put on us to succeed, we didn't really think about the impact of failure. We never thought about what failure could actually do to us. And failure is seen as something that is negative and disappointing. But my goal is to prove that we can in fact learn from failure and grow as students and citizens in our society. My research question came about because I wondered what we could possibly gain from failure. I believe that it's really important to succeed in school. However, I'm not advocating that students should attempt to fail or saying that failure will always help or create a shifting point. But what I do believe is that our approach in academics can drastically change after coming across failure. I faced failure in high school and it helped me for the better. It changed my mindset and made me more focused and attentive. So during my high school years, it was my sophomore year of high school, I was in honors English 10 class. It was a literature class where we had to read a book. It was a chapter summary and we had a quiz on it. I didn't end up studying for the quiz because I procrastinated. I only read the first chapter. We were supposed to read 3. I ended up failing the quiz and this really left a mark on me in my high school career. My mom ended up asking me to see my grades. When I showed my mom my grades, she was really frustrated. She was mad at me and she ended up taking me off the basketball team. At the time, I was playing basketball, and it was my favorite hobby. That was the only thing I was looking forward to. I really enjoyed playing the sport, and it was taken away from me, within seconds. That really made me reflect, and that showed me the significance that school really has on me. And I started taking school much more seriously after that incident. There are also many directions a student can take after failure. They can feel down and overwhelmed and cause more stress on themselves. This will only discourage a student and it will affect their self-esteem. Or they could take the approach I did and they could figure out why they failed in the first place and make adjustments to combat from happening again. I would really recommend this, and if anyone fails, I would tell them to find out why. What was the reason that you failed in the first place and try to fix it and prevent it from happening again. So in an article that I found, which was written by Henry Porter, who's an English author and journalist, he mentions how failure is beneficial and strengthens us. Without failure, there isn't an incentive to keep pushing forward. This motivation stems from a negative experience and makes us work harder. Porter states, "What will come from the moment your education ends are energy, charm, curiosity, persistence, finishing strongly, and your willingness to defy orthodoxy." He's claiming that grades will only carry you so far in life, and these intangibles that are learned along the way are much more beneficial. These characteristics will help you gain success in whatever you aspire to accomplish in life. Let's dive right into the benefits of failure and the key takeaways. Although instantly we may be disappointed or frustrated from the outcome, it can help build character and make us stronger individuals. Everything in life won't come easy to us, and we have to struggle to achieve our goals. Expectations have a lot to do with grades and failure. Students that expect more out of themselves tend to earn better grades. This source will help further establish this point and prove how detrimental expectations really are. In an article by Science Direct, which was published in 2013, displayed the differences in outcomes between students who had set expectations for themselves and students who hadn't set any. So students who indicated no aspiration to complete a school qualification were indistinguishable from those with low or moderate aspirations. An analysis supported only two divergent groups comprising students with either low or high aspirations to complete qualifications. Aspirations were significantly related to different patterns of motivation, affiliation, and attributions predictive of academic achievement. So what this means is pretty much students that didn't have any career in school or didn't see themselves attending school any further, didn't really try, and didn't want to succeed and achieve anything in school. The students that actually set any expectations for themselves, any sort of like low or moderate, actually tried in school and achieved good grades. I'll be interviewing my sister Mutes Keaton, who is currently a junior at Apple Valley High School. She currently has a 3.9 GPA and has failed previously in order to get to this point. Welcome to the podcast, Mutes.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so the first question is, have you ever been discouraged from failure in school?
Yes, I have. I went to a new school during sophomore year, and I took a really hard class where it was AP Bio, and I completely bombed my first test and got like a 33%. That was one of my first instances with failure.
Okay. And have any past experiences changed your attitude towards your academics?
I think that incident made me it was like a wake-up call, and I wanted to do better in school, and it made me work harder.
All right. Do you set expectations for yourself in school?
I think that is one of the biggest things that I do. I try to have a set goal, and that is what I have high standards for myself, and that's what drives me to do my stuff.
Okay. And how do those expectations help you reach your target grades?
Like having a good motivation is what makes me want to do my work, and having like a goal at the end was like having an A in a class is what makes me want to do better.
Okay. And also, what's your preferred method of learning?
I think my preferred method of learning is when there's a teacher in class who's explaining things, and like a collaborative work where everybody is asking questions and answering and helping each other.
Okay. Now that you mentioned that you like being in class, different learning methods affect your ability to learn.
Absolutely. And I think if how we were during COVID, where we're all online and just through the screen, it wasn't really easy to get your answers from your teacher, and it's a lot easier when you do it in person.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you failed in that AP Bio test. So what were the coping strategies you used to recover from that failure?
I think the biggest one was just not holding myself down to one incident and telling myself that I can do better next time. That is the way I moved on from that.
All right, that's the end of the interview. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No problem.
Expectations can be the defining factor in how well a student performs in school. It serves as a guide and helps the students stay motivated because they want to reach their goals. Now that I went over the benefits of failure and the importance of expectations, I'll talk about the coping mechanisms students can use after academic failure. Students also have different preferred methods of learning. Sometimes a method of teaching can cause students trouble in a course and they end up failing because of it. This was found true when COVID first struck and we had to do distance learning. Some students like learning in person with a teacher present, and others prefer going at their own pace from the comfort of their homes. This article shows the different circumstances that students do well in and the impact it could have on their ability to learn. The article claimed that students struggle with different styles of teaching, and not everyone is comfortable learning the same way. It also shows that productivity went down when students shifted to hybrid learning. There wasn't a will to learn, and students didn't take school seriously during this time. So students actually didn't try because they didn't feel like they had to learn because there wasn't a teacher physically in front of them. Since they were at home, they found it much easier to find ways to cheat and procrastinate, and this ended up really disturbing the school setting. Also, everyone learns differently, and some students thrive in different situations. Some students prefer in-person while others prefer online. This affects their mentality and attitude towards school. I covered how different approaches to learning can impact the student's motivation and ultimately cause failure. Now I'll show how academic adversity shapes students. Academic adversity shapes students and helps them overcome difficult situations in order to do well in school. It instills resilience and perseverance and allows students to move forward. I personally have encountered a situation like this and have gained mental toughness when it was all said and done. After failing my first quiz in English class, I had to steadily build my grade back up. This was a very challenging time for me because it takes a ton of patience to raise a grade back up from rock bottom. I didn't end up playing basketball because of the situation, and I learned the severity of school from this moment. This experience changed me and made me work harder to reach the goals and expectations I set for myself. A study conducted also explained the difference between academic resilience and academic buoyancy. It was published by Martin A. in 2013, and so Martin claims that reflection is key when learning from mistakes. Making and correcting mistakes provides us with self-awareness on what we did right and what we need to improve on. He also claims that teachers should make their students overcome the fear of failure, and fearing failure leads to negative thoughts which could alter your grades. So he's claiming that students should feel more comfortable and shouldn't really worry about failure. Instead, teachers should focus on actually helping their students recover from incidents of failure instead of making them worry about it in the first place. School is really important for all of us and is beneficial in order to educate ourselves and the generations to come. However, school can be challenging at times and hard to sustain grades. This is why failure helps ensure that we change our mindset and work hard at school. All it takes is one moment of failure, and the reflection can divert you in the right direction. Just like me, with my incident of failure, it really took a toll on me, and it was a hard time for me because not only was I failing in English class, but I also couldn't play basketball, so I had to shift all my focus and attention to the class. And when the trimester was over, I was satisfied with my results and I was able to bring my grade back up. Hopefully this podcast inspired you all and showed the different sides of failure and the tactics that can be used to overcome it. Failure is a hard pill to swallow and at times might discourage us. The goal is to use our failure and make a rebuttal and advance in our education.